Right people, we have more confirmation on the upgrades we can expect with iPad 11 as well as the release date, so without further ado, let's delve in. Apple guru Mark Gurman tells us there will be two main changes with the iPad 11, the inclusion of an A17 Pro as well as 8 gigs of RAM, which means this will be on par with the iPad mini, which does make me think we're going to get a price increase. I don't think it makes sense for the $349 iPads and $499 iPad mini to share the same exact chipset, and so maybe the iPad 11 jumps to $399 with 128 gigs of storage. I did, by the way, previously speculate there could be two different base iPads at launch, and this was because a private account on Twitter kept emphasizing we could see the A16 in the next base iPad. And so I thought, similar to how AirPods 4 came in two different flavors, we could see an A16 $349 iPad and an A17 Pro $399 iPad that supports Apple Intelligence. But I guess that's not happening because Gurman definitely would have hinted at that by now, and whilst he has mentioned there's two code names for this iPad in the past, I'm guessing J481 and J482 are just Wi-Fi and cellular versions of the iPad 11 and not two different separate variants. At the end of the day though, Apple's not going to be offering the power of the A17 Pro for just $349. That seems way too good to be true. And so definitely expect a price increase, but I don't think $399 is all too bad if we do get an increase in base storage. Release-wise, Gurman is still being very vague and simply says we can expect this in the spring, which could either mean March or April. That's a pretty large time frame, but in another report he had said Apple's gearing up to launch the new MacBook Air next month, and so I could see Apple giving us a week of press releases for the MacBook Air, iPad 11 and iPad Air, considering all these products are simple spec refreshes which don't need a dedicated event. Initially, I did also expect the iPhone 16e to launch in March with these products as well, but then Apple decided to surprise us and launch in February instead. Though maybe they wanted a solo release for that iPhone because it was a much bigger refresh, whereas these other spring releases are strictly a spec refresh. So yes guys, we are inching closer and closer to the release, just wait a few weeks. But you know what you can do in the meantime? Click that subscribe button of course. It would bring you the latest of Apple right to subscription box, so please consider it. It would be appreciated. Join the Saranbyte gang now. Anyway, you may be wondering, is the chipset really the only thing that sets us apart from the iPad 10? Well, mostly yes, but based on what we've seen with other recent iPad refreshes, we can expect a few other smaller changes. The first thing will be connectivity improvements. I definitely see them making a massive fuss about Wi-Fi 6E, wow! Even though most don't have Wi-Fi 6E routers to actually take advantage of the better speeds, but expect that alongside Bluetooth 5.3 support. The next thing I'm sort of curious about is Apple Pencil Pro support. You see, when the iPad 10 originally released, Apple kinda led us to believe this could not support the regular Apple Pencil 2 because it needed a charging strip where the landscape camera was, and so we had to settle for the horrible first gen pencil and that horrific dongle which still gives me nightmares. But thankfully, they then launched the USB-C pencil that was much better. Now though, with the new iPad Air Pro, Apple has restructured the magnetic strips so that of course you can have wireless charging whilst also getting the landscape camera, and so there is a possibility, a very small possibility, we could see Apple Pencil Pro on this iPad 11. Yes, it's gonna be kinda overkill having this pencil that has bloody gyroscope support and all kinds of cool tech on a display that's still not gonna be laminated and also is gonna lack P3 support, but I think just for some continuity in the range, it would be nice if all iPads just supported the same pencils. Remember, you won't be forced to buy the Apple Pencil Pro. Just like other iPads, you can settle for the USB-C one instead if you don't need some of the fancier features. But considering the USB-C model is pretty bare bones and lacks things like pressure sensitivity that even the first gen pencil has, it would be nice to offer something more feature-packed for those who want it. You can argue it doesn't make sense for a non-Pro iPad to have a Pro Pencil, but remember the iPad Air Mini already support this pencil and they aren't Pro products, and Apple doesn't really give a damn about their naming scheme making any sense anymore. The iPad Air is heavier than the iPad Pro, so yeah, just bring this pencil to the non-Pro iPads. We should not have a bloody compare page for iPad pencils. I would also expect the colors to change. Now, the arrival of the 16E does worry me a little because Apple could make colors a premium feature now and might limit this base iPad to just black and white, but I'm hoping that's not the case because I was a massive fan of the iPad 10 colors. They were bright and vivid and much better than the boring shades we used to get with older base iPads, so either retain them for the iPad 11 or give us more fun colors. You better not get rid of my fun colors, Tim, or I'll be angry. I do expect the Magic Keyboard Folio to come down in price, by the way, considering it makes no sense. It's only $100 cheaper than the actual iPad, and so maybe that's revised to $149 or $199, though Gurman in the past did suggest that maybe we could see a new Magic Keyboard that supports both the iPad and iPad Air. Now I do want to mention that Gurman has clarified since and now says the iPad Air is only getting this new keyboard, but I really hope they can simplify the range and allow both the 11-inch iPad Air and the iPad 11 to share the same accessories because their dimensions are so similar. All they have to do is move the smart connector on the base iPads and boom, it can now support the same old regular Magic keyboards. But knowing Apple, they probably want you to shell out for the iPad Air just to get the floating keyboards. And the same could be the case with the Apple Pencil Pro. As much as I previously said I want the iPad 11 to support this, it would also be a typical Tim Cook move to make the Apple Pencil Pro only available with the higher end iPads. And that's basically it. This is not an exciting refresh by any means, but the A14 in the iPad 10 is getting a little stale, and so even with a slight price increase, the iPad 11 with the A17 Pro should be a good deal. And yeah, I'm really hoping we do get storage upgrades. As much as I can make do with 64 gigs on a base iPad for my basic needs, I think it's time all iPads start with 128 gigs, especially for students using this for education, and I don't mind if the trade-off for more storage is less color options. I would much rather have more storage than fun looking colors, especially having to pay $150 more to upgrade your storage from 64 gigs to 256 gigs is borderline daylight robbery. So please Apple, fix that, make 128 gigs a standard, and then make 256 a $100 upgrade. So now I thought I'd do something I used to do back in the day, which is go through the comments. Let's see what you guys are saying about the iPad 11. So Saurav says 60Hz, 64 gigs of storage, laughing emoji. Apple will surely sell this as Apple Intelligence, as market gimmick, sorry. As of now, Android tablets are dominating and way more valuable. Now, I'm not sure about that. Android tablets are not dominating. The stats show that iPads are dominating and have been for quite a while. I know Android tablets are making a return, and there are great Android tablets on the market, but the iPad is still the king. And iPads are likely going to continue being the king because they're the de facto iPad choice for many consumers. Now, I know the techies care about 60Hz, but at the end of the day, most regular iPad consumers are not bothered by the lack of 120Hz, especially on the regular iPads. That being 60Hz is a non-issue in my opinion. If anything, they should work on the display being laminated first. That is something that's noticeable when using the Apple Pencil, but 60Hz is completely fine on iPadOS. As for 64 gigs of storage, as I said, I can make do with that, but I'm aware it is limiting for most consumers, and so that should get an upgrade, and I do think they're going to double the storage. However, yes, you're right, the Apple Intelligence is going to be used as a gimmick to sell this iPad, because they're going to be shoving AI into everyone's faces. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments, make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this, and thank you for watching.